going on, insurance syndicate members? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Wednesday, baby. It's time for Winning on Wednesday, our weekly live show here in the group. Thank y'all so much for hopping on here with us this morning. We have a special treat for you. I'm going to let y'all trickle in here. Put in the comments real quick how y'all are doing. What's up, Mr. Johnny? Let's go. Hey, real quick, y'all, before we get into this, because we do want this to be a little interactive, it's like the first comment that I put. It's also in the description of the post. Please let StreamYard view your comments just so that we can see you over here on StreamYard. We can get you up on the screen and obviously answer any type of Q&A that you guys might have as we're going through the call. All right. So as you guys can see, it's just me, old Joe, here on the call today. Mr. Merwin was taking his lovely wife Grace to the airport. She was heading to Columbia today. And I don't know what's going on with Austin Airport. They've been having some issues, but they had a power outage this morning. So he has been sitting in standstill traffic on 183. If anybody's in the Austin area, you guys know where that's at. But so he's been stuck in traffic. So it'll be just me today here. But I know he gives his best wishes to everybody and definitely wants to be on here. But you guys can understand that. So real quick, before I bring our guest on, you guys know we drop our weekly wins in here. Put in the comments too if you guys, hey, put a weekly win, and I don't care what it is. You guys know a lot of my weekly wins are always softball oriented, but my weekly win really is I've got my agent hangout this Friday, and so the agent hangout is just something that really I was thinking about it the other day, and so I have the little badge right as the ATX agent hangout, and it was established in 2020. Right. And so just consistency and everything that I've really put into that to try and help agents. And I think it's just very relative to what our special guest kind of does and how she implements that in her business and just her heart for agents and helping people, specifically empowering women that are just capable of so much. So I'm so excited to have her on the call. But yeah, definitely. When you're running a free networking event every month for over 2 years, and I've only missed one. I had to miss one for in July for 8%. I couldn't swing it, so I've done every single other month since 2020. And again, just trying to pour into agents, help agents, and so with that. Right, so I've recently been able to meet Cassidy. We met virtually, and then was able to spend a little bit of time with her at 8%, where she crushed it on the freaking stage. But I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let her talk about herself. But if y'all could give us a nice warm welcome, a little hand clap in the comments for my new friend, Miss Cassidy Arbeli. How we doing?
What's up? How are you?
I'm good. It's 9 o'clock my time.
Yes, it's 7 a.m. my time.
Woo. Hey, that's commitment right there, baby. That's commitment.
Oh my God.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hop on. Again, I know it's early, but was been trying to get you on the podcast, and so super excited to have you on and really just hear your message, right? And I know we're going to kind of talk about your conference and just really who is Cassidy and everything like that. So y'all gear up. And again, I see Facebook users over here. This is what it looks like if you don't let StreamYard view your comments. So if you could click that little link in the description or in the comments. Johnny's with you. Johnny's, hey, 7 a.m. here too.
Yeah.
Lori's like, it's 4 a.m. my time because she's in Hawaii. I mean, my
Oh,
Lord, come on, let's get it.
that's
But
amazing.
anyways, Cassidy, give us just kind of a quick background. Hey, who's Cassidy? Kind of what are you up to? And then we'll really kind of dive into the weeds and get into the nitty gritty.
Cool. Well, yeah, like Joe said, my name's Cassidy Arbeli. It's on the screen. It's 7 a.m. my time. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's where I've been for the last 26 years. I'm originally from Los Angeles. And I'm currently in my home office right now because there was no way I was going to make it to the office before 7. And I told Joe right before we got on, I was like, bro, I woke up like 10 minutes ago. Like, I'm going to be like sipping this iced coffee. I got 3 amazing, beautiful little humans that I've created. One's playing Fortnite right now because he wakes up at 5 a.m. to do it because I won't let him do it during the week. So if you hear screaming and him telling people to die, I mean, it's just part of life at the moment. And I've been happily married for 12 years in November. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And yeah, we talked about like going back into what life has been like for the last 10 years, just kind of entrepreneurship. And I kind of started on a really funny note. So my family has always been entrepreneurs. That has been my example of, life, business, all the things. And no one's really been like a career person or worked for other people per se. And I decided that I was going to go to school for psychology. That's what I was really into. And then as I was working through school, I realized I really wanted to do business, that I had these leadership skills, that I had this passion for creating things on my own. And I ended up going into organizational psychology, which is business psychology. You learn a lot about why people do what they do, but in the workspace, how to organize teams, how to be a leader, if you've ever seen the movie The Office, and I know there's some younger people now that like have never seen that movie, but there's this scene where these guys come in and they like psychoanalyze everybody. And that's what an organizational psychologist does. They come in and make sure, your corporation and the people working in it are in the right seats and all of that. And so I graduated and I had this dream.
Where'd you graduate from?
UNLV, and then I went to ASU for my master's degree. It was mostly online at the time.
Got it.
So that was fun. And then I had this dream to like open this agency, this business where we'd show up for business owners, but it would be like this firm that had everything a business owner would need. It's like a CPA, a PR person, just basically like marketing, legal, all the things that you would need for a business so that we could kind of be this firm that a business would come to. I don't know. It was this dream I had, like a consulting agency. And then I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter after I got married, and I had some issues. And so I wasn't working for a while, and I decided to start a mommy blog. This is when blogging like first started, and sometimes I kick myself for not continuing because I was like, man, I started to make money. I was doing all these things by myself, like creating ads and banners and getting clicks and getting free products and all this stuff. And I'm like, if that would have continued, it probably would have been amazing by now. But that's how I started, just like some entrepreneurship stuff on my own. Because before that, I had been working for other people, helping them build their business while I was going to school.
Got it.
And I actually got contacted because of my mommy blog from a State Farm recruiter. And she was like, hey, I have this opportunity. And at that time, my husband and I had started a business together, but he was really focused on that. And I would come in and help as much as I can, or as much as I could, but I was doing the mom thing. And she was like, listen, there's no investment. We're going to give you a book. Like, this is the dream, all the things. And I'm like, I am not going to be an insurance agent. Like, no way. That is not what I'm going to do with my life.
We are polar opposites there. That's hilarious.
Oh, man. I was like, she's crazy. So, I did take the meeting because there's nothing wrong with taking the meeting and learning more. And I knew that I wanted to do something on my own. Hey, Tony, I'm so bummed you're not here, but I feel worse for you. I hope you're okay. This gets worked out. He's so cool. And so I actually was insured with State Farm at the time. We had an agent we had forever. Like, she knew me since I was 16 when she first put me on the policy, all the things. And so I went and met with her and I said, hey, can you like give me the lowdown? Like, what is this really about? And I'm like, it's a little too good to be true. They're just going to hand me a book of business. And then they said they're going to give me all these bonuses and I don't have to pay anything. Like, you do have to show that you have some funds for your business in order to get approved. And she showed me behind the scenes. She showed me how much she was making and what the day-to-day looked like. And I was like, I really have nothing to lose. Screw it. And so I went in for the interviews and all the things and got approved, started the whole plan. It was at the time a 9-month training where we'd have to fly to Tempe, Arizona and all that. And sure enough, a week after they said, hey, you're approved, I found out I was pregnant again. And so, we had planned to have more kids, but it just happened.
Like quick.
So I was like, okay, looking at the calendar, I'm like 9 months of training, 9 months of being pregnant, right? And anyway, went through the whole thing, had the toddler growing up at home and all of that. My husband was so amazing. I'd fly in and out. It was really hard to do, really hard to test for your insurance licenses when you're pregnant because you've got severe pregnant brain. Like, that's a thing.
Right.
And got 7 licenses in 9 months, did it all. And my
Wow.
son was born 2 weeks before I opened the doors to my agency. So that's how insurance started for me.
Wow.
And yeah, we just like went in guns blazing, didn't know what I was doing, didn't even know how to put people on hold the first day. Like the phones weren't working, all that. Long story short, we made it work and we're doing really well. And I went through a lot of rough times. I was telling someone yesterday that I had heard this quote or this statement somewhere that the biggest path to self-discovery is becoming an entrepreneur. And I'm like, oh my God, that is so true, because it is the biggest mirror you can put in front of you on who you are, the things that maybe are not great about you yet, the habits that you have, like the things that you want to become, and you're still on this journey. And
Right.
so I failed at a lot of things, but we were still selling and we were still profitable. And so all the things on paper were really great. But eventually, after chasing this carrot that, kind of the captive world puts in front of you to bonus out and to sell all the products and all the
Right.
things, I got really burnt out, and I was number one in all the things. Like, I was doing what I was told, and eventually I realized, this is not what I want to be doing. This is not what's actually making me a lot of money, even though they say this is what I should be doing.
Right.
And we really got heavy into commercial. And when you're captive, it's really hard to do that. Now, we were selling a lot of commercial, and we were able to fit what we could sell into their underwriting guidelines and all the things that they were willing to write. Like, we would find the stuff that would give us a lot of premium, that would fit within what they wanted to write and that they would approve. But eventually we were writing so much, giving away so
So
much
much.
business to brokers and other people. At one point it was almost $3 million, and I was like, this is bullshit, I'm done.
Well, and
And
let's
so
well
yeah.
before because I know you're about to go the indie route, and you
Mhm.
guys, oh my
Yeah.
lord, like what you're doing as an independent broker is, I mean, it's so freaking impressive. But I want you said something, and then I also want to come back to the psychology of sales too, because as soon as you said that, I think that actually is so important when it comes to the actual sales process, is understanding how people are going to receive all that good stuff, right? But
Yeah.
you said the path of entrepreneurship, right? So I want to go back on Cassidy's path. And this is, I haven't asked this yet. This is actually a really good interview question. What was your first job? The first job you ever had, what was it?
I worked at Dairy Queen.
Oh, the blizzard upside down. Did you ever have one like fall out on you?
No. You know what's funny is, though, my parents, we were in the beauty industry. My parents owned salon and spas here in Las Vegas, and we had 3 locations. We would see 1,000 people a day. It was
Wow.
like massive medical spa. It had all the things. I was very, very spoiled when I was younger. I even had someone in high school when I was like, oh, this is what my parents do. They were like, that's not your mom and dad. Like, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, right.
Like, why would I lie about that? People
Yeah.
are so weird. But what's funny is I was like, I'm not going to work for my parents. Like, I want to do my own thing. I always had this, like, I'm doing it myself. I have to be independent. And so I went and worked at Dairy Queen when I could have worked in a beautiful spa and salon,
Right.
right? Like, getting my brows done on break, whatever. But no, I wanted to know what it was like to go work for minimum wage and mop the floors, and it smells disgusting in there, like all day long. Like, you come home smelling Dairy Queen. It was
You
horrible.
smell like Dairy Queen getting out of there.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was terrible. So after that, I mean, that was my first job. But then after that, I did go work with my family and, did a bunch of other things. But yeah, it's so funny
I
you brought
love
that up.
that. I think, so many people, and I obviously, I mean, I talk with agents all day, every day, and it's starting to become a way more, and we were talking about it even like cold calling and stuff like that when a lot of us first got into insurance and we didn't really know what we were doing. And, I just feel like all of the truly successful people that I've talked with or interviewed, like that we all start here. right? To where it is like, and it's like, it's just cutting the teeth, right? Like, I mean, you know what? Like, if you can go work at Dairy Queen, right, y'all, and this is, I mean, this is a tagline within itself, is from Dairy Queen to 40 million in revenue. Like, I mean, come on, right? Like, freaking everybody put a hand clap in the comments for that. And so then, okay, so I wanted to go back to there, and I think honestly, that's probably where that first piece of little entrepreneurial spirit, was born, maybe even subconsciously, right? Is like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to figure it out, right? And now, obviously, fast track to where, okay, so we're getting ready to pivot away from State Farm, right? I always use the word pivot. So then let's talk about that,
Yeah.
the pivot to becoming independent, and now obviously everything that you're doing, that's really, I mean, you're killing it. And then I want to get into that sales psychology on how you're using that within your agency too.
Okay, cool. So I realized that we were going to be leaving State Farm. Some other things went down, and it just really opened my eyes to the fact that I was just another number, just like a policy holder as an agent, and they really didn't give two shits. Like,
Right.
it was just an assembly line, right? And I was committed. I would bleed red. I was like everything State Farm. So when I realized I was going to be leaving, I said, hey, team, this is kind of the plan. This is what we're doing. And they were terrified. I mean, so was I, because we were very comfortable. We were in year 5, 6. I was making a ton of money. Like, they were like, what do you mean? Why are we leaving? I don't understand. And they had a taste of the commercial side and saw that we could write bigger policies. And I said, hey, we're going from like writing 100K a month to each of you writing 75 to 100K a month. And they thought I was crazy. Well, I decided that for the next 90 days, as I was transitioning, for 3 whole months, I shit you not, 90 days, we wrote nothing. I had one person who was just managing the book at minimum as much as we could, because I wasn't willing to just like, show up terribly to people that did trust me to insure them and all of that.
Right.
And I still wanted to keep the reputation I was staying in the industry. And the rest of us, there was 3 of us besides me that sat for 90 days and we business planned how we were going to do this. We read, I think, 4 books together. We kind of did a book club. One of them was 12-week year. The next one was Traction. The next one was Clockwork. And then we read a book called The Starbucks Experience, which is actually a really great book. I would highly recommend that you read. It's about how you brand and create core values within your business. And it just talks about like how Starbucks does it.
Yep.
Anyway, we read these books, we sat down, we strategized, and I love those big Post-its that you stick on the wall. And I re-wallpapered my office. Like, we sat on the sofa and we were getting snacks. Like, it was great.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about what are the things we're not doing anymore, the habits that we got through this industry that were not great. The ones that, you heard other agents doing and we picked up and just tried to make it happen. And what were the things that we did do right that we wanted just to 10x? And how were we going to break down selling for them each about $75,000 a month? And we talked about commercial leads and all the different things. And then we opened doors, and it was so hard because we went from one system to now learning over 20 and trying to figure out these AMSs and like everything that we had provided for us as a captive agency. And now we had to decide and figure out what was working for us. So huge learning curve. Luckily, we had the experience. But I always tell people, like, if you made it in the captive world, you should kill it in independent, because you have so much more freedom and you have options and choices. So if you can sell a policy under captive, like, you should be able to do really well under independent once that learning curve kind of dies down. And so we did. Our first month we sold 250,000.
Come on.
And yeah, it was amazing. And suddenly my team was like, oh shit, like, she wasn't kidding. This can happen. I will say the first 6 months, I mean, we were going after everybody we could because we had a big list of people we could attack at that time. And then it died down just a little. And I was like, oh, maybe it was just a fluke. But then once we kind of rebranded into this independent and really started working on the clients that we knew we wanted to go after, and we really branded ourselves as commercial, and we went after those bigger policies, then about 90 days after that dip, it went right back up, and it stayed consistent since. And we typically do 200 to 500 a month, and I have 2 salespeople. That's it.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
That's where it's been since.
Well,
Yeah.
and but you guys heard that, right? Granted, our startup was a little bit different because we got one carrier. Are you direct to your carriers? Is that when you got it?
I
How long have you been in?
so we left in 2017, the
Okay.
late 2017, but really didn't start until January 1st, 2018.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I just remember when we first started. You said I think you said it about the State Farm agency about not being able to get the phones to work. So like we had this amazing morning meeting. Now, and I wanted to highlight the foundation of the agency, y'all. You guys heard that. She didn't just jump into it. Now you have to jump into it, but once you have the plan, right? I mean, she took 3 months while also still operating. And I know you guys weren't selling, but you're still operating an entirely different business. And people, they say they don't have time to really, it's like, but lay that foundation. And so I just remember, our first, we did the House of Dreams. That's our foundation of our agency and just what we wanted it to be. And every like live, all this type of stuff that we wanted to impact and be here 100 years from now. Well, so we're all amped up, we're all hype, and then we go to our computers to start dialing because we were dead broke. We were just literally cold calling. We only had one company. We had Safeco. They were the first one to give us a direct, and it took like 6 months for everybody else to kind of fall in line. But we had no clue what we were doing, and then we couldn't figure out how to get our phones to outbound dial, which is the only way
Oh
we
my
could drum up business. So it took us like 3 days to finally figure out. And then we were with that system for, I mean, literally for over 4 years. And I love that system, Ricochet 360. But it was so funny where it's like, do your prep work. Like maybe before the day you open your doors, make sure you know how to outbound dial or even pick up the phone. Yeah, it's super
God.
funny. So I want to ask you this. So this is, obviously I think this didn't really used to be the case in my opinion. Now again, I know I'm 28, but I have been in 9 years, and really, I'm starting to see way more and more agents like specialize, where it isn't, hey, I'm a jack of all trades. Like, and I used to be this, hey, if it can be insured, I'm your guy. You learn that one the hard way for sure, right? So now we've really adjusted our model to be more selective, because we do have the freedom, we have the options, yada yada. Where did that commercial kind of specialization come from? Like, obviously it started with State Farm, but like, how did it even start with State Farm? And then why were you like, you know what? Even though I do now have 20 homeowners or personal auto carriers, we're going commercial, baby. And I don't know if are you doing any of the personal lines at all? Do you have somebody, or is it, hey, we are doing commercial?
Yeah, so we do still do personal lines, but 99% of it is for our commercial clients so that we insure everything for them.
Yep. Oh,
There's a
got it. Okay.
lot of things we slowly with time, just kind of going back to how it's specialized. So we sold all the things. At some point with State Farm, you could even do mortgages. I was doing
Uh-huh.
mortgages. Like it was all the things, securities, life, every single product you could think
Debit
of.
cards, like
Health
everything. Yep.
insurance. Yep. So we did health, life. I mean, we did it all, right?
Yep.
And commercial was not being pushed at all by them. Where it came into play is my parents were entrepreneurs. I have been around business owners my whole life. We all kind of flocked together. And I started getting those leads from people in our community like, hey, can you do this insurance? And a lot of it I couldn't do, and it was heartbreaking. We
Right.
had one person who we somehow finagled into State Farm. They had a locksmith company, and State Farm said they would do locksmith, and they had over 60 vehicles.
Wow.
And we realized we could do high auto, and they approved it, and we made like, I don't know, I think it was $180,000 policy.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, oh my God. Like it was so much work because we didn't know what we were doing.
Right.
But we did it. It took like 6 months. But if in 6 months we could get $180,000 in premium that's going to renew every 6 months, what are we doing busting our butts every month to get 100 autos? Why
Right.
are we doing this? This is ridiculous. And so we suddenly got a taste. And after that, it was like, how do we get more? So it was more about working smarter, not harder. And the light bulb just went off. And then they pay their bills and they don't complain. I mean, they complain a little, but right? Like,
Right.
yes, there's CO or certificates of insurance that need to be done for contracts and different things like that. That's a little bit more service heavy. But for the most part, they're a pleasure to work with. And they also have a lot of friends and people they hang out with. And so those referrals just started coming in. And that's where we got the taste of I'm tired of trying to bundle hospital income policies. This is dumb. Like, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's really where it started. And then we kept going and we got a lot of referrals and we couldn't do it. And then, right, we went independent, all that stuff. So for me, it was like, I realized, which I wish I would have heard people when they told me this early on and or learn this myself, because I didn't want to listen, I guess. I thought I knew it all. I would 1000% specialize and niche down first, then add products and product lines on. Because when you can get really good at one thing and brand yourself in one thing, it's a lot easier to do that than brand yourself in everything. And everybody's like, does not want to hear it. I know, I understand. But I talk about it like, to make it really easy to understand, like, would you rather go fishing and get big fish in like a small barrel, or do you want to go fish for small fish in a sea, in an ocean where it's huge and you never know when you're going to catch a fish? That's really how I see it now. And the other thing is, I love business. I could talk about it all day long. It's just in my blood. And so why wouldn't I want to work in an environment in a day-to-day where I get to talk to other business owners? I get to help them or see how their business is growing. I mean, we have clients that started with us with a small little location, and then years down the road, they've got several locations.
Those are the best ones.
Internationally, right? Like, how amazing is that I get to see that grow? So that's kind of where the specialization came into play. And we still do some personal lines, but yeah.
So with that too, and I think for us, obviously we shifted. I was using the commercial to really supplement my personal lines because I was just tripping over personal lines, and that's and our model. I know we talked about it, is that we're all over the country, right? So kind of same thing is, hey, I get to be a little bit more selective because what I'm fishing for, right? It's not that I have to catch all the fish in Texas either, right? So I think that was a big thing for us, but then also going to the carriers. Like Cassidy didn't just go out and be like, I'm the commercial specialist, but then not have any carriers or not know what the carrier appetites were. And so I'm sure that was part of your prep work. Ryan had a question here for you. When you say you're big in commercial, and maybe let's go back to that. So how did you even really, hey, look, and did you start with, I want these three things? Like, my big thing is trucking, auto body shops, and real estate investors. I know that because I can go straight. I mean, I've got accelerated underwriting, all that good stuff. Do you have those certain things that you kind of ironed out on, hey, we're going to go after this, and then add the other products? Like, what were maybe those 2 to 3 things? And then the sales psychology on how you're actually going out and getting. I want to come back to that because I think it's so important, especially when dealing with a business owner, how you are approaching them, how you're working with them, to where then, hey, they're not calling me and complaining. I mean, you have obviously your one-offs, right? But I think that's because of how you're onboarding them, those expectations you're setting, everything like that. So go for it.
Yeah. So honestly, we do all commercial. One of the things that I think, and I've talked to Cody about this before, he's like, you seem to be like really relentless, or you keep saying relentless. And I'm like, yeah, it's a core value of ours. We don't give up. If somebody gives us something crazy and we don't know how we are going to insure it, or we may not know which carrier is going to work, especially in the beginning, you have to do research. Right. We don't give up. Like, we do everything we can to get that policy. So that's just like ingrained in us. That's something that I have made. Like, when my team's like, we can't insure this, I'm like, go back to the drawing board. Like, you don't give up.
Bullshit, we can.
Yeah, I know. Even if, like, make it happen, right? Even if like all you do is learn something from really trying, then it's still worth doing. So we definitely do all commercial. However, there's things we've specialized in by default because this is where we're getting the most referrals and things like that. So I definitely say, and also because I realize this is better business and it gives us more premium per client, per whatever. Yep. So trucking, real estate, we do a lot of manufacturing companies. We understand that really well because of the other businesses that I have, and I do a lot of manufacturing as well. And high auto, so like HVAC, locksmith, towing, things like that, things that have a lot of auto is what we like because we know that's a lot of premium. So that's where I would say we kind of specialize, but honestly, we do a lot of things all over the place.
How do you feel about like general contractors? You like GCs? I'm just curious.
We do GCs, we do, but I wouldn't say that's like where our majority of our book is.
Yeah.
But it is really nicely spread out, which I like, especially because if things happen in an industry like trucking, like there's definitely a lot of things that have happened in the last couple of years, right? So that can make it a little bit uncomfortable. I think a lot of people too get nervous about commercial or bigger fish too, because like, what if that fish leaves you? Well,
Right.
then go write more big fish. Like,
Put more big fish in
stop
there.
putting,
Right.
yeah, stop making that a clutch. Like, okay, so if
Mm,
3 years down the road they leave, but you just made $100,000 off of them for 3 years, like, you're right. Don't go after it. Don't do it. Like,
right.
that's ridiculous, right?
I'll take it.
Yeah, right,
Right.
exactly. So,
So
sales.
with that for your new venture, right? So you've got your new people. I love that you said that because those are my favorite ones too. When you get to be their first agent, right? And then you see them like really strike gold. How do you go into an established shop and win that business? And maybe say if it wasn't a referral. I know obviously referrals are big for you, but like, hey, if I'm going in, I see 100 trucks, 100 autos on that lot. This is how I'm going in and winning that business.
So we haven't done that in a really long time. So it's going to
Okay.
be a little hard for me to talk about it just because I'm a
Referrals
little
are the
far
name
away
of the game,
from it.
baby.
But if I had to start all over and go back, my biggest thing, I talk in a way where I can tell stories and we are very authentic. I mean, you met Nikki. We come to work in pajamas, like we just don't care. We cuss, we chit chat with our clients. The thing is that people think that you have to be super professional and like a business owner is not going to want to work with you because you're not in a suit or whatever. It's not true. They're
Right.
people just like me and you, and they have their things. And so I show up with a business mindset and just say, yo, like, and I'll even say, yo, I don't care. I'm like, that's the other thing. When you can just show up confidently and just be you, you're going to attract the people that love that about you. And I'm just like, hey, I'm a business owner just like you. Like, I don't have time for this shit. I know you don't, but you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this business. And the number one asset you have is to keep this business going and for it to generate money into your life, not the fancy car that's sitting outside or, some of the things that you think you need to be insuring properly. So how about we have a conversation and make sure that your business is insured properly and that you don't have anything you have to worry about, so that we can take care of that risk and you can take care of your business growing. So when I can come in and talk to them and be like, I'm going to make sure you're safe so that your business can 10x, they're like, oh, wow, no one's ever talked to me in that way when it comes to insurance. Where we really want to see your business grow. Granted, I want to see it grow because they're going to need more insurance. But right, like I have a secret motive. But it's really about helping them find ways to help their business grow and not just about, hey, we need to make sure your general liability is. No, like don't talk about that stuff, right? Come in there talking like you would a business owner, just as you are. And I tell them, I have several businesses. I understand what you're going through and just have something that's relatable to them. So when we can talk business, they love that about me and also my team, instead of just coming in and talking about insurance. Find out more about their business and how they started and some information and use that to create a conversation that's different than what everybody else is probably doing. So I would say that's probably like my secret sauce and how I approach it. I do get a lot of referrals. A lot of people just know me in town. I mean, I'm in a big, massive city, but I think my city is really small. But
Everybody in Vegas knows Cassidy. I don't know.
I talk to other agents that are like, we have like 20,000 people in our town, and I'm like, okay, I don't know how you do it. But like even then, when they have a conversation with me, and honestly, I don't really have conversations as much anymore. It's all my team, but we just talk business. I'm like, hey, how's business going?
Right.
Has this affected you? How, are you making it work? How many people do you have on your team now? What departments are you working? Like, we'll talk business and we won't just go straight into, well, who are you insured with? They don't want to talk about that.
Right.
That's the least conversation we have.
And then let's do this. All right. So because you keep referencing your other businesses, right? And so, and I think, I love that because I think we've all heard it, right? The multiple streams, like you're truly wealthy or successful people, right? They all have multiple streams of income coming in, right? So you've referenced businesses. So let's shift or pivot from insurance, right? And let's kind of talk about your other businesses. I know you're obviously big into coaching and empowering women. And I want to talk about, so take really kind of our last 10 minutes here What other things you got cooking? And then I also want to talk about the conference and really just where that came from, because I think it's one thing to coach, it's one thing to go into businesses and do that on that scale, but then to open something up to the public. And then obviously I know you, like Cassidy, like that's the first one, right? And you're relentless, so it's like the next one's going to be bigger and badder, right? And so let's take the last few minutes there to talk about that.
Sure. So one of the things that I think is also really important and something that I've learned recently to talk to people about is I stayed on one course until I was profitable enough to then venture out. I think some people try to venture out a little too early, and it's totally okay to get wealthy or to get financial freedom from just one business. So I'm just going to preface that there. Stay focused until you are fully prepared to be able to step away and do something else or have your focus shifted somewhere else. So thankfully, insurance is actually what allowed me and my husband to go and invest in other things, because this industry is so stable. There's residual income, right? Like all the things that are amazing about the insurance industry. So if you're just starting out in the insurance industry, or you're kind of a couple years in and you're like, I'd love to have multiple streams of income, but maybe you're not there yet, that's okay. Just stay focused and figure out where that line is that you need to work towards, to then say, okay, maybe now I can shift. So that was about year 5 for us. It was right before we left State Farm, where we started investing in other things. And so it was very crazy. I think in 1 year we bought our first commercial building. I left State Farm. I opened an independent agency, and then we started another business. Like all of that was in 1 year. It was insane. And then I also got pregnant again. Long story. I don't know.
I was like, and add the 2 toddlers on there too, right? Like
and 2 dogs. Yep.
Yeah.
And so that is really what I think I got, like the make it happen captain brand, where it was just like, screw it, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to make it happen. And honestly, going through those things is what makes you stronger as a person. And when things come up, you're just like, I can handle this. I've done things way harder than this, right? Nice. So we tend to invest very small amounts of money for high opportunity. So lower risk that has higher potential for opportunity, but also in things that are going to take time. So we have time. And this is for now, right? And this is where we kind of come up with the equation on what we're investing in, or where are we going to put our focus. So low risk on financial investment, high risk on time or patience, and then high potential in that working out. And so we invested in a company that my brother-in-law started. It's called Concreti. It's a concrete manufacturing business where they do concrete sinks and all this stuff. And it took 3 years before they turned a profit, but it was only $50,000 in investment. And in 3 years, now they're doing about $4 million a year in sales. Wow. And they're just growing like crazy. You know, things like that. So that's just one example of something we've invested in. And I went in. So what I do is I go in on the front end. I do our 90 days. This is where this all started. I realized how much just spending 3 months. Now, 3 months is a long time for a lot of people. Like, but some people don't even spend 3 days a month on their business. They are just so stuck in it. Every time I've done like a 90-day, we have 10x. So we went from writing 75,000 to 100,000 a month to writing 200 to 500 because of 90 days. Is that now worth it to you when you hear that? 100%. You just got to do it. It's so hard to take your foot off the gas. I get it. But you're going to 10x. You have to believe that. If you don't believe you can do it, you're not going to do it. So I go in, I do the first 90 days. I help with coming up with a brand strategy, with the marketing, the budgeting. I come in with the processes, the systems, all that stuff. And then I make sure it's getting done. And then as things are flowing and working, I step away and I go do whatever I want. And then I come in every now and then when it's necessary. And I just check that things are happening. I just got really good at that, where I can quickly plug in all those things and I can step away.
Is this insurance specific, or are you doing this with other, I mean, obviously, so then obviously about manufacturing, not only from, being invested in one in your brother-in-law, but then also, insuring a lot of them.
Yeah.
Are you doing this plug and play with insurance specific, or anything outside of insurance business wise?
No. So like when I go into invest or create, or we have other businesses.
Oh, got it.
That's
Okay.
kind of my position. Yeah. I come in all the beginning stuff, get everything settled, like processes, all of those things. What is our brand? What's our vision? Where are we going?
Love it.
That's like my forte. That's what I love to do. And then I step away and let the operations start or continue, and then come in and tweak when necessary. So if there's like an operational issue, or maybe there's like a new brand, a new marketing campaign that we want to put out, I'll come in, work that, and then I kind of get out. But it's funny because as I've done these things, I went back to my passion of wanting to do consulting, like way back when we talked about why I went to school and like what I wanted to do. And at first I thought I was just going to work with women and just in general in business. And I was like, you know what? In the insurance industry, there's not enough representation. It's like where we first started. It's honestly like my first love, which back when she wanted me to open an insurance agency, and I was like, you're high, right? Like here we are now. It's so crazy how things happen. And I realized how little support I had, how little information about business is really out there in our industry. There's a lot of marketing and sales content, but there isn't as much business acumen and business foundation things. And that's really what I needed, because I think a lot of people, even though they are hard on themselves and don't want to believe this, they're typically good at sales. The thing that I think the people that are not successful in this industry are more than not people who don't know how to run and manage a business. They don't know how to scale it. They don't know how to get themselves out of the day-to-day. Then necessarily just they don't know how to sell a policy. That's just my belief, because I've just seen a lot of it. And I think when you get to that 8%, those are the people that really know how to build a business and how to scale it and things like that. So that's where I come in. I love talking about business. Like I said, I've taken my kind of 90 days and I've created a program out of it. And that's what I've been doing for the last year and a half, is showing up and teaching people that program, that 90 days. We break it up into 6 months though, because obviously you're still running a business and we don't want to overwhelm you. That's not the point. We're here to take you from overwhelmed to focused and scaling and doing all the things. And then, so that's what I've been doing. And then
what's that program called? So that if anybody wants to potentially look into that with you, what's that called and where could they potentially find it?
Yeah. So this sometimes is confusing and I'm reworking my branding because I'm learning this, but the business is called Unburden Your Business. And the preface of that is just, we start a business because we want it to be a blessing in our life. And suddenly it turns into a burden, right? Like you're like, oh crap, I'm strapped to my desk 12 hours a day. And this is not what I thought the American dream was going to be. So we offer several products under that umbrella, but the actual program that I'm talking about is called Agency by Design. And the reason I named it that is because I really got sick of everyone just copying each other and like not really thinking about what they want in their life, because I went through that period for leaving State Farm and saying, hey, hold on, I'm not following you. What do I want? And I took a moment to ask myself, what does Cassidy want? Who am I? Like, what do I want my brand to be? How do I want to be represented? And so we really work through creating that agency for you and designing it to be what you want it to be. And so that can all be looked into and found on our website, which is unburdenyourbusiness.com.
Love it.
And then with the event, I've been going to conferences, since like I started entrepreneurship. So 10 years. And I've gone to conferences from everything you can possibly think of. And I love it. I love immersing myself in a room with people, with knowledge, disconnecting from everything else, giving myself my own me time, all of that stuff, because my best ideas, my most transformation always happens at these events. And it gives me so much energy and motivation to come back and just kill it and keep going. And so I realized how much momentum that builds. And so I've been going to conferences for a long time, not only in the insurance industry, but in the conference world in general. There are not a lot of women. It's very masculine in a lot of ways. And I feel like sometimes it's uncomfortable for me, even though I'm sometimes more masculine, to show up and be vulnerable and you know, all of these things. And so I really wanted to create an event that brought a lot of business knowledge and the business topics, but in a way that really spoke to women who have children, who are married, who have other things on their plates, women who are still trying to figure out how do we run a business and, still be emotional if we have to, or go through the motions, or being a leader, or how do we like do all these things? So a lot of the things that we brought to the table during this event was unconventional in a way, and they're things that have helped me be able to go through what I've been able to go through in the last 10 years and just make myself stronger. And it was really about not feeling like you have to show up with a filter. So the event's called Unfiltered Experience. And we cried and we laughed. We learned so much. People got
PJs?
vulnerable.
Anybody in PJs?
Some people just showed up in sweats. Yeah, like
Come
why
on.
not?
Yep. I love it.
All the things. So actually, we do have Unfiltered Experience virtual. So we are selling that right now to be able to get people access that couldn't show up. And we had 12 speakers, everything that is part of my program. So like we started with vision and mental health and getting your mindset right, all the way through to branding, marketing, sales, teams, processes, recruiting. I mean, all the business stuff to money management. And then in between, we had different experiences. We even had a very funny comedian come in, which I don't want to spoil it, but it was freaking hilarious. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's really like what the event's about. And for me, so my win, because we didn't talk about that, so I'm going to loop
Circle
it back
around, baby.
But my win for this week has definitely been just the feedback that I've gotten from these women and the action that they're taking and the things they're implementing as they've left has been incredible. Like that was worth every late night and early morning and stress and, in the closet with a glass of wine crying, saying, I don't know if this is going to work. I had a lot of revelations myself that weekend, and like realized like what things I want to be doing, what things I don't want to be doing anymore, what really brings me joy, all of that stuff. And so it was transformational even for me, and just realized maybe I don't know if I want to do events anymore. Like, do I even want to do this? Right. I literally took a huge risk, and I knew I was going to get shit for it in the industry. I knew that it was also going to be amazing. I knew that it was going to be really hard, but not as hard as it was. I knew it was going to cost a lot of money, a lot of time. And one of the things I'm really good at is showing up even though I don't know what I'm doing and just keep going. And the other thing is showing up when it's hard. That's something I realized that weekend. Like it was hard. I had like 6 hours of sleep over 4 days, and I was on stage, like doing trainings and different things and having to show up. And I'm like, holy crap, like this was really hard, but I still showed up. So for those of you that feel like you don't know what you're doing, like even me at this stage in my life, there's a lot of things I'm doing that I don't know what I'm doing, but there's no way I'm going to know what to do and how to do it if I don't show up. Come on. And don't be afraid. I think one of the things that make an entrepreneur and maybe a leader or whatever you want to call it, someone that people want to be attracted to or get attracted to, is the fact that you can be really confident, but also very humble. And I am an open book, and I have no problem saying, hey, this was humiliating. And this was hard, but like, I'm going to show up anyways. And I think that's one of the things that has worked for me. And it's made me more confident every time I've done it, because sometimes you have to be courageous and have some courage before you are going to gain that confidence. So that's me. That's what I'm into right now.
Well, and that's, with that, I think, we'll kind of wrap up on this. It's so powerful, right? And I think so. One, your next conference needs to be called freaking Relentless, because I think that's baller. I'm like, man, that's either a book or it's a freaking name of your next conference. But two, I feel this way too sometimes, that, man, sometimes it's just easier to attend, right? Yeah. But all that to say that I think, and I'm speaking this into existence now, because I think what you're onto is potentially shifting these events, these conferences at a national level starting here, right? To where you are empowering women to where then it isn't uncomfortable for them to go into a big room that is predominantly males, right? And a lot of people, when they suit, like they want to be big and bad, right? And, I think I just want to speak that into existence now, as I think it's starting a movement here to where you're going to empower women to where then, hey, you know what? We're going to have more women in this room than we do with males, right? And I'm telling you, I think you can really do it because you're relentless. And really, Cassidy, thank you so much for hopping on the call this morning. This was freaking amazing. I mean, we had like some of the highest viewership we've had on a live call here in a while, and just the comments were going. And so, with that being said, let's just close out with how can they find you? How can they reach out to you? And then we'll wrap up from there.
Yeah, so unburdenyourbusiness.com website has all the information. I'm much more active on Instagram on like a daily basis, behind the scenes, kind of look at life and things. And then we also have a Facebook group for female insurance agency owners where I do monthly workshops, very much like this, but it's super interactive on Zoom. And I do a lot of free coaching and consulting on those. And then all of our content gets repurposed into our YouTube channel that we just started last month. Be kind, because I'm learning how to do the damn thing. So it is not the most professional thing, but the content is quality. I promise you that. We deep dive in a lot of things. So go to YouTube. I'm a YouTube person. I like to watch YouTube videos all day. And if I want to learn something, that's where I go. So our YouTube channel is also called Unburden Your Business. And I think that's a great place, regardless, male, female, like we love everyone. It doesn't matter. Right. I'm just here to just help empower more women, but that doesn't mean anything. I work with men all the time, especially men that have no problem maybe getting a little feminine. But that's where I would start. If you want to consume more content from me, YouTube is where it's at. Instagram is where I show kind of behind the scenes in my daily life. And then unburdenyourbusiness.com is the website where it has all the information about all the things that we're doing. If you want access to Unfiltered Virtual, it's on there. It's for sale right now. We had 12 speakers, all female, from all walks of life, talking about the things. It was amazing. So I also spoke for 2 hours, which sounds a little bit overwhelming, but I talk about creating processes and systems in your business, and then also a lot about time management and how to really get more things done, because even with 3 kids and all these things, I only have 24 hours in a day. So I really kind of give the secret sauce to all that. But yeah.
I love it. Thank you again so much, Cassidy, for hopping on. Y'all, unburdenyourbusiness.com. It's on YouTube. Check her out on Instagram. Thank you, Syndicate members. We love you guys. And remember, it's Wednesday, right? The week ain't over, right? It's peak of the week. Let's get it. Let's go after there. Let's close some deals. Let's implement some new processes. Maybe take some of the things you just learned on this call and plug and play them into your business. I don't know. Everybody's saying there ain't no money in PNC, and I think we just are proving otherwise right here. So again, thank you, Cassidy. Thank you, Syndicate members. Y'all have an amazing rest of your week. We'll see you next Wednesday. Actually, we'll see you on Friday Fuel. Then we'll see you on Monday Mindset. Then we'll see you on Tuesday Training, and then we'll see you next Wednesday for Winning on Wednesday. So thanks, y'all. Everybody have a good one.
Bye.